Caitlin Clark joined the NBA three-point contest. The Paul brothers have pissed off the entire internet again. How did they do that? YouTube viewers, like, comment, and subscribe. We love to see the interaction, and the more interaction that we get from you, the better. We like it. But we'll begin today discussing the Pro Bowl, or at least what once was the Pro Bowl. When I was a kid, I used to look forward to watching the Pro Bowl at the end of every NFL season. It was a big deal. It was the NFL's All-Star game. It was in Honolulu, for God's sake. And they actually got together and they played a game. Were they going all out? Probably not. But they got together and they played a real football game, for God's sake. It's not this skills competition, ESPN, the Ocho event that is going on down in Orlando, Florida now. J.J. Watt had something to say about it. A lot of players, you might be aware, they're not real keen on going to the Pro Bowl. And so they skip it, the best players, frequently. Josh Allen has skipped the Pro Bowl in order to play in the AT&T Pebble Beach Pro-Am before. And he is not going to play this year either. He'd rather be golfing. Lamar Jackson is not going to be there. So that means somebody's got to go. Who's going to play quarterback in this game that doesn't exist? By the way, when you get nominated to the Pro Bowl, when you get sent to the Pro Bowl, there is no Pro Bowl anymore. They've got dodgeball presented by Bud Light. And if you wonder what dodgeball presented by Bud Light looks like, it's actually the players playing dodgeball instead of football. That's where we're at. And so J.J. Watt, seeing the star players opt out yet again this year, saying, when you get 5 alternates deep, let's just call it the Participation Bowl. Because that's what it is. The AFC quarterback situation, really the MVP situation in the league this year, back and forth, it's probably very likely going to be Lamar Jackson or Josh Allen who wins the award. I expect that they'll finish 1-2 in whichever order you prefer. Joe Burrow is the other guy who's in that conversation this year, and Joe Burrow played for a team that didn't make the playoffs. So Joe is probably going to be looking at third or best, but at least he's planning, at least as we know now, as this show airs, he's planning to be in Orlando for the Pro Bowl. So who's going to be there with him? Well, guess what? The AFC is going to be rolling out Russell Wilson, who you might remember missed the first 6 games of the season for the Pittsburgh Steelers, and Drake May of the New England Patriots, the rookie quarterback who started and finished exactly 1 win his entire rookie year. And that now translates to the Pro Bowl. You can see there 15 touchdown passes, 10 interceptions, 17th in quarterback rating, 23rd in touchdown passes, 24th in yardage. He's now a Pro Bowler. We spent the entire year talking about Jaden Daniels and Caleb Williams, and Bo Nix started working into that conversation. Drake May had a decent year for a rookie quarterback, but I don't think there's anything about it that looks like Pro Bowl to me. Why are we still playing this game? Why are we still pretending that this is a thing? It used to be that when we had made-for-TV events, they were made-for-TV events that you could get excited about, like Battle of the Network Stars. That was a made-for-TV series of competitive events. Events like Daisy Duke being in the dunk tank. My parents' generation had Where Were You When JFK Got Shot? My generation has Where Were You When Daisy Duke Got Dunked on Battle of the Network Stars? And I think that is a clear win for Gen X. Robert Urich, in case you've forgotten, was the goddamn American hero who knocked her into the water with a perfect softball toss. Listen, I'll take Robert Urich throwing softballs, trying to dunk Daisy Duke over Drake May playing dodgeball any day of the week. This is what it's come down to now. You want to see Drake May play dodgeball? Not every moment in Battle of the Network Stars was a feast for the eyes. If you wanted to see Daisy Duke get wet, you had to pay for that ticket by watching a shirtless Ed Asner waltz around. Ed Asner, probably 39 years old there. I kid, but he's probably younger than I am now, literally. The moment when you're perched in front of the TV, just waiting, you're hoping to see Linda Carter in a bathing suit in the swimming competition, and then Lou Grant pops up, all chest hair everywhere, looking like the last popsicle in the freezer, all fuzzy. You didn't sign up to see Ed Asner's nips, I'll tell you that. Or maybe, failing anything else for the NFL, can we get AI Howard Cosell to call the Pro Bowl festivities? Maybe that is a potential solution that could fix this, because the Battle of the Network Stars, you can't understand unless you were there. They tried to resuscitate this a few years ago, and it didn't work because everybody was just a little too cool for it. Everybody was just doing a wink and a nod. They were wearing the gold blazers and all of this, but there was too much self-awareness. The thing that made the Battle of the Network Stars great is that everybody was earnest about it. They really wanted to win. And Howard Cosell showed up, and he was just going to call that fucker like it was the goddamn Super Bowl. Let's go to the tape.
Look at those teeth clenched together. Valerie Bertinelli. Look at Ed Asner. The body prostrate. However advanced he may be in years, that's the body of a former football player.
Look at Ed Asner. The body prostrate. Drake May, maybe that fixes it. Look at Drake May, the agility to catch the dodgeball, eliminating, I don't fucking know, whoever else doesn't deserve to be at the Pro Bowl, playing in the dodgeball game sponsored by Bud Light. You can't make it up. You think Jack Youngblood would want to play in the Bud Light dodgeball game at the Pro Bowl? Jack Youngblood, a man who was such a badass, they had to put his first and last name on his jersey. And why did they do that? Because he wanted it. And they said, yes, Mr. Youngblood, of course we will. No, they had a Jim Youngblood as well on that team, but I always love the fact that Jack Youngblood gets his entire name on there. You may not know that Jack Youngblood played in Super Bowl 14 on a broken leg against the Pittsburgh Steelers. That is true. But if you really want to understand what a badass Jack Youngblood was, you should also know that he went and played in the Pro Bowl the following week on that same busted leg. That is some Chuck Norris level shit right there. You can't even get guys to play hard in the NBA All-Star game or any of this stuff now. Nobody even wants to go to the Pro Bowl. And the closest thing that we have to a real game is a 7-on-7 flag football game with Peyton and Eli Manning coaching. The Battle of the Network Stars should be insulted to even be compared to the current state of the Pro Bowl. I'd like to apologize to Daisy Duke and Ed Asner, Howard Cosell, Epstein, everybody else who was involved in this. Penny Marshall, I'm sorry to you as well. You want to see how ridiculous it is? Have I not sold you on how stupid the Pro Bowl is yet? If I haven't, take a look at this. Tyler Huntley in 2022 ended up going to the Pro Bowl. This is a guy who in his entire career up until today has 5 career wins as an NFL quarterback, and he's thrown 11 touchdown passes. He's barely ahead of Johnny Manziel on the all-time touchdown pass list. And in 2022, when he went to the game, he started 4 games that year, and he threw 2 touchdown passes. Pro Bowler. Go to his Football Reference page and pull that up. 4 games played, 2 touchdown passes. He gets to call himself a Pro Bowler for the rest of his life. I remember when the Pro Bowl used to have some dignity. I'm that old. That's how old I am. There's Roger Staubach wearing the National Football Conference colors. Look at that. The AFC, they used to wear the red. It looked good. It was actually an attractive game. The only thing that was different were the player helmets. They looked like two proper teams. And again, while they probably weren't going balls to the wall like they would in a regular season game, it wasn't a mockery of football. They actually got out there and they played the game. Knowing what we know now about CTE and how risk averse everyone has become, I understand that there was probably no future for a proper Pro Bowl game anymore, but the idea that we're playing dodgeball presented by Bud Light, and that's actually more compelling than the 7-on-7 flag football game that rivals what you used to play out in the backyard with your buddies when you were growing up, I'm not sure what it says. The NBA All-Star Game is not doing any better, however. That's become a huge joke. These guys don't have the professionalism or the basic desire to compete, to show up and put forth even a pedestrian effort. That's why every NBA All-Star Game's 237 to 234, because they're just out there going up and down the court goofing off. But they're switching this year. They're going to try something different. I don't think that you're going to be able to resuscitate the NBA All-Star Game, but they are switching to a 4-team format. 4 teams of 8 players each, 3 of them composed of your 12 All-Stars from each conference. And where's the other team coming from? Well, that's a great question. They're coming from the Castrol Rising Stars Challenge, which happens on Friday night, the Rising Stars competition, which consists of 10 rookies, 11 second-year players, and 7 guys from the goddamn G League. They're going to play their own little tournament on Friday, and whichever team wins, whatever Frankenstein combination of rookies, sophomores, and G Leaguers comes together to win that shit fest, is going to get to jump in there with the NBA All-Stars and be one of the 4 teams that are competing. What are we even doing anymore? The slam dunk contest is awful. Mac McClung is going for a 3-peat this year in the slam dunk contest. This motherfucker has played in 5 NBA games in his life. He's played in 1 this year. I don't know what the rules are to get in the slam dunk contest, but I feel like the only reason that he's seen the court this year is so he can play in this dunk contest, if you even want to call it that. There's only 4 guys in it. But you're talking about a guy who, if he wins, he's going to have 3 slam dunk championships, and he's going to have played in 5 games in the NBA. We might as well bring in the trampoline guys from halftime. Look at this. This is when we had a proper slam dunk contest. Take a look at this and then realize the next dunk contest will probably be won by some team's 11th man when he jumps over a Buick with a sparkler sticking out of his butt. And that might be giving the slam dunk contest of today too much credit. If anything, the 11th man, why, that's a valuable team member compared to Mac McClung, who basically is an exhibition dunker in this contest that's being passed off to us as though it's something good. Look, there's one thing that might redeem this for me. Is Caitlin Clark, is there a possibility, we're hearing talk, that Caitlin Clark could, possibly, maybe, we don't know, no promises, no guarantees here, but could she be in the 3-point shootout against Steph Curry and the best marksman that the NBA has to offer? Klay Thomas, Sabrina Ionescu's already done it. She's going to be in there. I don't know. That's not moving the needle for me. You're a bigger WNBA fan than I am, if you care, but she's thinking about it. I don't know if we're going to get Caitlin Clark in there or not, but the NBA desperately needs to do something. And it's a shame. Look, I don't want to be the get off my lawn guy, but I'm going to be the get off my lawn guy. It's a shame that there isn't the basic level of professionalism in the NBA for guys to show up and at least halfway make the same effort that I made in Park City, Kentucky, running it up and down the court, playing pickup ball every spring and summer back when I was in my early 20s. Okay, you don't have to go out there and act like it's game 7 of the NBA Finals. But can you at least put your hands up? Try to impede somebody on their way to the basket? Try to get a hand in somebody's face? Is that too much to ask? We have to come up with all of these gimmicks, and the reason for it is that the players can't be fucking bothered to show up and even give 50% effort. I'm over it. The Major League Baseball All-Star Game is still the best out of all of them, even with the problems that it has. Take a look at this. There's your 1977 National League All-Star team. First of all, uniforms were better back then. Take a look at those sweet bastards. Look at the Pirates and the Giants and the Padres and the Astros. Look at those sweet road blues of the Expos and the Cubs, Phillies. We got a bunch of future Hall of Famers in that photo, as well as Pete Rose. A lot of legend. Willie Mays down there. Look at Willie Mays down there in the left-hand corner, sitting next to what I believe is country music legend George Jones. He stopped loving her today. And then he went to the All-Star game. Worked a couple of scoreless innings in 77, I believe, George Jones. But the All-Star game, by 2002, we had the tie game. If you remember Bud Selig, his hands in the air, what do I do? And everybody was like, well, the All-Star game has become a joke now. And so they tried for a while. This time it counts. Remember when Major League Baseball tried to make the All-Star game what determined home field advantage for the World Series? That was a little bit ham-fisted looking back on it, but at least they were making an effort to appeal to the players to show up and try. You didn't have to do that back in the era that we were looking at there. The National League, they won 11 All-Star games in a row. Back from 72 to 82. They won 11 times in a row. The American League, they cared about that shit. It actually mattered to them. The NHL, maybe they've got the right idea. They're not even doing an All-Star game this year. They've got something coming up here called the Four Nations Face-Off Tournament that is going to happen, sort of serving as a preview, I suppose, in a sense, of the Olympics coming up in 2026. But we've got Canada, Finland, Sweden, and the United States. And this is going to go between February the 12th to February the 20th in Montreal and Boston. First ever time that they've done it. We'll see how it goes. But certainly adding a wrinkle, and the NHL has tried stuff. They used to be Stanley Cup champions against All-Stars. Then it became conference against conference. Then they did North America against the world for a while. Then they went back to conference versus conference. Now it's 3-on-3 with multiple teams. So all of these leagues shuffling around, trying to capture something that restores some sense of luster to their All-Star game. But the NFL, I think the patient is dead on the table, quite frankly. I don't know what you can do to resuscitate that. Maybe I should call in a man who's not a doctor, but maybe he'll play one today on streaming if I ask him nicely. He is, of course, the international streaming star from Nashville, Tennessee. Ronnie T-Shirts joins me. And Ronnie, look, if I was asking you to call in the prescription to add something back to these All-Star games, Pro Bowl specifically, do you have any RX here, or is the Pro Bowl just fucking in need of a toe tag and a body bag at this point?
Dude, I'll be honest with you. I haven't been listening to very much of what you've been saying because I cannot stop looking at that jersey you're wearing right now. It's like, it's just amazing.
Well,
holy crap, Ricky.
Thank you. Yeah, it's like, a lifetime dream come true. I'm not gonna
it's
lie.
Just, wow.
It's pretty satisfying, dude.
I mean, it steals the show. Yeah, I actually have some notes. You've talked about a whole bunch of stuff this morning, and I have some notes about a bunch of different things. But I actually did make a note about how to fix the Super or the Pro Bowl, and I think you of all people will be behind this. Are you ready?
All right, Roger Goodell. Grab your pen and paper. Ronnie, go ahead. Tell us how you're going to save it.
The best players in the NFL do the Price is Right. So they do Plinko. They do the yodel thing. They do Punch Out. I guarantee if that happened, you would watch.
You know what? I'll take it over Dodgeball presented by Bud Light any day. Russell Wilson playing the check game.
Chris Jones trying to.
I've watched
Chris Jones
I've
bidding
watched
on
worse.
bidding on like how much does a blender cost? Like, I would be all in on that.
Yeah, you know what? So crazy, it just might work, Ron.
Yeah. All right. Can I give you a couple of my other notes, things that you're talking about this morning?
Well, if they're all going to be as good as that one was, hell yeah.
You kept talking about the Battle of the Network Stars. Pushes my brain to what is actually my favorite kind of made for TV event back when I was a kid. And I know you like it too. Superstars. The Superstars might have been my favorite thing. And it got me to thinking, and here I've done this a couple times. Do you remember Kyle Rote Jr.? I just looked him up while you were on there. He's still, he lives in Memphis, Tennessee. He owns a company.
He won it at least a couple of times, right?
Yes.
He's a soccer
I
player.
think Kyle Rote Jr. would be a great guest on this show to talk about the Superstars. Anyway, and then
that's a good idea.
My other note, Ricky.
Start looking for Kyle Rote Jr. He's residing somewhere in the witness protection program now, probably.
No, he's in
Memphis.
Might
actually have a shot at him.
He lives in Memphis. I think you can find him. And then this one, this is just if you follow Ricky on Twitter and you see my shenanigans sometimes. Ricky, Ed Asner's Nips were the name of my band in college.
Well, that was some of your best work. That was like experimental jazz, if I recall correctly, Rod. Ahead of its time, really. So far ahead of its time that we're probably not going to arrive at that time, even in this century. I would say, but look, Ron, you're a football guy. Football is your favorite sport. Is there any way? Well, then, look, Ron, is there any way that you can have a Pro Bowl?
No.
Because I would argue there is no Pro Bowl. They call it the Pro Bowl, but it's just a weekend of doing stuff.
I mean,
it's not even the best players that are there. You don't even get to see Lamar Jackson and Josh Allen play fucking dodgeball, dude. I mean, look, I get it's something to do, but who's watching this? Who's tuning in on television to watch the Pro Bowl?
Yeah, no, Ricky.
I haven't watched the NBA All-Star game in forever, bro. Forever. Because if they don't care, why should I?
Yeah.
If they don't care, why should I care? I can see these guys play basketball anytime I want to. It's not like when we were growing up and the All-Star game was special because you got a limited number of games, right?
Correct.
These guys are all richer than God. There's no financial incentive for them to show up and perform at their best. Apparently it's become uncool to show up and try, and nobody wants to be the uncool guy who D's somebody up. So they all go out there and goof off. But if you don't care, why should I care? I'm not going to watch that shit.
No, I completely agree with you. I have no idea the last time I watched an NBA All-Star game. Don't know the last time I've watched more than just accidentally flipping through the channels and seeing that whatever the NFL does. But you're right, man. With the NFL, unless they're willing to actually play the game, which they're not, and like you said, man, I understand. Like why risk injury for something like that? Like why just take a deep breath. NFL, NBA, just take a deep breath and don't do it for 1 year, and you'll see that it's okay. And then you can just move forward and just stop with the illusion that everybody wants it. At some point, though,
the Pro Bowlers, especially the NFL, just name the Pro Bowlers. We need to know who the Pro Bowlers are. Yeah. But we don't need to get down, as J.J. Watt said, to the fifth alternates. Just cut the bullshit. Cutting the bullshit is a good segue here, because we have a new White House press secretary. I know that the last one was your favorite person in the entire world. You enjoyed KJP's work so much so, but Caroline Leavitt is the new White House press secretary, and she is reminding the media that they're on notice as well as the White House. The obligation to tell the truth works both ways. Let's listen to Caroline Leavitt.
Miller.
Thanks, Caroline. A question that we've asked your predecessors of both parties in this job. When you're up here in this briefing room speaking to the American public, do you view yourself and your role as advocating on behalf of the president or providing the unvarnished truth that is, not to lie, not to obfuscate to the American people?
I commit to telling the truth from this podium every single day. I commit to speaking on behalf of the President of the United States. That is my job. And I will say it's very easy to speak truth from this podium when you have a president who is implementing policies that are wildly popular with the American people, and that's exactly what this administration is doing. It's correcting the lies and the wrongs of the past 4 years, many of the lies that have been told to your faces in this very briefing room. I will not do that. But since you brought up Truth Seek, I would like to point out, while I vowed to provide the truth from this podium, we ask that all of you in this room hold yourselves to that same standard. We know for a fact there have been lies that have been pushed by many legacy media outlets in this country about this president, about his family, and we will not accept that. We will call you out when we feel that your reporting is wrong or there is misinformation about this White House. So yes, I will hold myself to the truth, and I expect everyone in this room to do the same.
And Caroline,
So, Ron, she turns the question around on the questioner. It says, what's your commitment to telling the truth? And they are also welcoming new media. Now, Ron, new media means podcasters, bloggers, social media influencers. They're not just extending these invitations to the traditional legacy media anymore. So you can see here from Caroline Leavitt's press secretary account on X, she says, if you're an independent journalist, podcaster, social media influencer, or content creator who meet the criteria, apply to join us. So, Ron, I don't know if you have already filled it out or not, but as the international streaming star from OutKick,
last night we saw this on Lori and I were watching the news and we saw this, and I just looked at it. I go, could you imagine if I get called on and I just say Ronnie T-shirts, the Ricky Cobb show? She just started cracking up.
Well, would that be any less legitimate than what we've seen? You are the media now. The words of Elon Musk continue to reverberate. We didn't know that he may have meant Ronnie T-shirts.
I'm going to sign up. I'm going to sign up and
what do you have to
see if I can get. No, I'm going to. I'm absolutely going to.
What do you have to lose? God, could you imagine if you got in there even once?
I'll wear like a Jefferson Cleaners T-shirt, just something from your collection, just something.
Be the greatest day. Be the greatest day of my life. They might not be prepared for the questions that a Ronnie T-shirt would ask. Just like I hope this audience was prepared for what Red Fox was about to say. I hope that they weren't the sensitive type, because you could never make it at a Red Fox show if you were going to clutch pearls if you heard something that was a little bit off color. Ron, I don't know if you heard any of Red Fox's stuff from the 70s, but especially by 1970s standards, it was very provocative. I remember he had an album called, and this is close enough to true for me to say it, but you can fact check me on this. But I think he had an album called "You Better Wash Your Ass," or something like that. And on the cover,
Ricky.
It's him and a donkey.
Ricky.
That was the peak of 70s comedy right there.
Because of that album, we had spray painted my friend Scott, not the one from yesterday, a different Scott. He spray painted on the shower in our house. Don't forget to wash your ass.
Well, see, there you go.
Literally because of that album.
Red Fox.
Red
Fox just promoting public hygiene. You didn't even realize how great he was. Ron, did you see that Trump, another executive order going into place here? Donald Trump, no more sex changes for minors. No more federal money or support for gender reassignment surgery for minors, genital mutilation. It's not going to pass muster anymore. You got to be 19 years old. What are your thoughts? This is one of the things that he ran on. This is another promise made and another promise delivered early in his second term.
I mean, you need your parent. You have to be 18 to get a tattoo and like 16 to get a belly button ring. So, I mean, this is just put this in the category of this is so ridiculous that he even has to do this, right?
It says a lot that this is where we're at. And if you've ever seen, look, if you have a weak stomach, I would say don't go online and search for, gender reassignment surgery, because they take
I'm not going to
forearm skin, and it's just so, I mean, look, if you decide to do that as a grown adult, that at least is a decision that you're making as a grown adult. But I do not believe that a child is equipped with understanding the lifetime of possible suffering and damage that they're doing themselves with something that can't be undone. The toothpaste is out of the tube. You can have sex reassignment surgery reversed, but it is hardly going to make you intact as the person that you originally were. And so I think it's just a matter of basic common sense. And I think the people who were performing experimental surgeries on minor children, I think at a minimum, these people need to go look in the mirror and ask themselves some real hard questions about where their moral compass became broken.
Yeah, Ricky, there's a lot of reports and a lot of information out there that shows that this procedure is a massive moneymaker for hospitals. So just think about that. Why it's being
It is the most common sense thing in the world. And again, it's been held out there. Remember, the thing that the left has done so often is, well, people will die. They will kill themselves. So their blood is on your hands if you can look at a textbook case of child manipulation and child abuse and you call it that. They reversed things around on people who had that common sense perspective. Ronnie, are you aware that the Paul brothers, Logan and Jake, they have got people buzzing again on the internet, man? These guys they're nothing if not provocateurs. I mean, these guys know how to push people's buttons and they know how to get people talking, and they are teasing the idea, apparently, of fighting each other. And I think that this right here is maybe a little too much for most of us. Because do you really believe that those two are going to go at each other 100%? Do we really think that's going to be a real fight? Ron, I'm not 100% sure that the Mike Tyson fight was even on the level. And I am not a conspiracy type person, but I've seen so many replays of that fight where Tyson, look, there's a fine line between being 58 years old and just not being able to pull the trigger on getting a shot off. But there were various moments in that fight where it looked like Mike Tyson had clean punches at Jake Paul and he held back. So I got my doubts that they didn't have some sort of gentleman's agreement, and that would be illegal considering. So I don't know that that's the case. I'm just saying it makes me wonder when I look at it. That is purely my own conjecture. I don't want to be reading a Sonny Hostin legal note on this program, Ron, but I say go away, Paul brothers. I say go away, boy. You bother me. I think that was kind of the end. If Jake Paul wants to get in there and fight somebody who can actually fight, that's under 40 years old, that's an actual boxer, then I'm interested at that point. If he wants to continue fighting people who aren't competitive or having things like the Tyson event that it's hard to even imagine that it was completely on the up and up, I'm done. If I want to watch the WWE, I'll watch the WWE. They do it better Anyway, Ron, did you see there were some Eagles fans? A guy was getting married in Cancun, I believe, and he and his wedding party did the tush push at the reception, I believe it was. Let's go to the videotape.
And Chris Ranger. Uh-oh. What do these guys got going on? Are they saying a prayer? I didn't know about this earlier. Oh, here they go. Uh-oh, what's going on?
Hart straight ahead, surging forward. No signal yet. Touchdown. It worked again.
You know how I know that those guys weren't from Buffalo, Ron?
No socks.
Because they didn't award the ball to the Kansas City Chiefs after saying that they didn't make it. You're no longer allowed to be married. Kansas City ball is what would have happened if those guys had been from Buffalo, but they pushed it across there. Good luck. I don't know. That might have not been the only tush pushing going on that night, Ron. They had to consummate that marriage. Take a look at the Saints' old mascot. Can we bring him back? By the way, when your mascot's chin looks like a toss-up between a giant nutsack and Kim Kardashian's butt, well, you know you've got something pretty special going on. I don't know why you would ever get rid of that mascot, Ron. When you have gold like that, I think you just want to keep that motherfucker around forever, but they got rid of him, and that makes me want to ask the same question to you, Ron. What the fuck?
So the theme today is going to be female rappers. Have you heard?
My favorite.
I mean, who's your favorite female rapper of all time? You feel like an MC Light kind of guy to me, but we'll figure that out later.
I don't know. There's so many. You're putting me on the spot. How could I pick just one? I don't want to
Queen Latifah,
insult
Salt and
any of
Peppa.
the outstanding female rappers. Salt and Peppa they were always a favorite of mine. So it'd be a tie between Salt and Peppa for me. Shout out to Spinderella.
Peppa. Oh, Spinderella, right? Greatest DJ name of all time.
Yeah, she deserves some love.
Do you know about Dank DeMoss out of Detroit? So
surprisingly enough, Ron, I do not.
So I'm going to be honest with you, Ricky. When I first saw this story, I thought it was going to be a story that we're going to have a lot of laughs about because she's a bigger girl, and she has a lawsuit against Lyft because she ordered a Lyft, and when the driver came, he denied her access to his car. He said, "Oh, you can't fit in my car." And she said, "I've fit in cars smaller than yours." And he said, "Believe me, you can't." So at first, this was going to be something I was going to have a little bit of laughs about, Ricky. But further reading and investigating, turns out that there's a law in Michigan where weight is a protected class and you can't deny people business. And so now I've kind of changed a little bit after looking at this, but it just brings up an interesting kind of, discussion on like, where do we draw the line?
What was he driving? In all honesty, what was he driving? Because some cars,
I looked and I could.
It may literally be that you could. That is a large individual. She might not fit in the back seat of some cars.
Correct, but I guess you gotta give her a shot. Because at first I thought this was a publicity stunt where she just wanted to get us to talk about Dank DeMoss, which just a fantastic name. But it is interesting, Ricky. And again, I started off with I thought this was going to be funny, and if I'm being true to myself,
now you're just
I didn't feel.
Now
it just
that's
didn't
just
feel
a
right.
little sad. It's like the British version of The Office. You started out thinking it was going to be funny, but now it's just kind of sad.
Yeah.
You're not sure what your emotions are supposed to be for David Brent.
If I'm being real, yeah.
I don't know, dude. I understand if it's the law, it's the law. But if that guy's driving a Nissan Sentra or something,
I know.
you know.
No. So I guess we'll see. I guess we'll see how it plays out.
Car up. I don't want to be rude, but like,
correct.
Is there any way that like she could
damage
the guy's car? I mean, I kind of see his point.
I know.
Well.
I know.
Well,
I know. Anyway, so the other rapper.
What the fuck, Ron?
I know. The other rapper that is in the news is Cardi B. I know you've heard of Cardi B. And we're not going to be able to actually show the end result here, but it gave me the idea of, Ricky, I think I've found what our bet is for next year on NFL picks.
Oh,
whoever loses has to get a butt crack piercing.
No, absolutely. Absolutely not. That's a thing?
Well, so here's the deal. Here's the deal.
How does that work?
So our censorship team.
Can you draw it? Can you hand render it for me?
Yeah. So our censorship team at OutKick and Fox said it's something that we can't show on the show, and I totally understand. But I can say, just Google Cardi B, or not Google. Go on X, Cardi B piercing, and you'll see the picture. It's at the top. There's just a bar that goes through the top of her butt crack. So,
well,
you're not interested in doing that for a bet?
We're just I don't know. People are running out of things to do. You know, maybe we've just done it all now. I mean, people are sitting around thinking, what else could I get pierced? How can I stand out? How can I be different? I know, my butt crack.
Hey, OutKick fans on YouTube, if you enjoyed this episode, hit the subscribe button and make your way over to OutKick.com where you can watch the full episode.